My name is Michael Miller, and what I'm about to share took place during a chapter of life I thought was stable, secure, even. At that point, Samantha and I had been married for over 2 decades. We had met during our college years, fell in love quickly, and got married not long after graduation. Together, we raised 2 daughters, Emily and Kate. Just a year apart, they were as different as sisters could be, but fiercely loyal when it counted. Emily had recently started her freshman year at a state university, about a 2-hour drive from our home. 6 weeks earlier, we'd helped her settle into her new dorm, which she shared with one of her closest childhood friends. Though we missed her, we were genuinely happy to see her spread her wings and take that step into independence. Kate, meanwhile, was in her final year of high school and still undecided about college. Odds were, she'd end up at the same university as her sister. Despite their usual sisterly spats, their connection ran deep. With Emily gone, the house had taken on an unfamiliar quiet. Samantha and I tried to embrace the shift, reminding ourselves it was a sign of progress. She seemed to take it in stride. At the time, I was a partner at a well-established accounting firm, and Samantha had built a strong career as a supervisor at a local building supply company, an unexpected path, considering her degree in English. Still, she had steadily advanced over the years, returning to the workforce once both girls were in school. My income had always been the larger one, but together we'd carved out a life of comfort, a beautiful house, reliable cars, and the occasional luxury. Life moved at a predictable pace, and Friday afternoons were usually the beginning of a relaxing weekend. That particular Friday, I decided to leave the office a little early. With Kate away on a school camping trip until Sunday, I saw a rare window of uninterrupted time with Samantha. I was already imagining dinner at our favorite Italian spot, maybe a bottle of wine, followed by a quiet night alone. Since Emily had moved out, the distance between us had grown more noticeable. I hoped this weekend might help us reconnect. Pulling into the driveway, I was surprised to see Samantha's car already parked in the garage. It was earlier than she typically got home. Maybe she had the same idea I did, maybe she was also looking forward to some time alone together. I stepped inside, calling her name as I walked through the house. The kitchen and living room were empty, so I made my way toward the bedroom. As I reached the hallway, I called out, "Samantha? Are you in there?" She responded calmly, "Yes, Michael, I'm here." When I entered the room, I found her sitting at her vanity. She was putting on makeup, wearing a fitted black dress and the pearl necklace I'd given her the Christmas before. Her heels were neatly arranged by her feet, and just beside them sat an open overnight bag. It was partially packed, casual clothes, lingerie, a toothbrush. Something felt off. I blinked, momentarily thrown off. "Wow, you look stunning. Did I forget about something? Are we going somewhere? I can get ready quickly." She turned to face me, her expression unreadable. "Michael, we need to talk," she said softly. "I was going to wait until later, but since you're home early, I guess now is as good a time as any. I'm going away this weekend." I frowned. "A weekend away? With who?" She hesitated, then delivered it straight. "It's a date." Everything froze for a second. My brain scrambled to keep up. "A date? What are you talking about? We've never discussed anything remotely close to that. Is this a joke? Some elaborate setup for a surprise weekend for us?" Her voice remained calm. "No, Michael. I mean it. I'm spending the weekend with someone else. I've felt lost since Emily left, and this is something I need to do, for me. It's just one weekend. After that, things will go back to normal. It doesn't change how I feel about you." I was stunned. Words barely formed in my mouth. "You're serious? How long have you been planning this? Who is this guy? Are you leaving me?" "No," she said firmly. "I'm not leaving you. I still love you. He's married too, just a friend. We've had lunch a few times. He makes me feel alive again. I didn't want to sneak around or lie to you, so I'm telling you now. This isn't about us, it's about me. Her voice sounded strange, detached, like she was reading a monologue written by someone else. I'm not getting younger, Michael, she went on. He finds me attractive. It reminded me that I can still feel desirable. Just one weekend. That's all. Then I'll be back, and we'll carry on. The disbelief was hard to mask. One weekend of rediscovering yourself? And you think it won't affect us? Samantha, listen to yourself. You sound like someone I don't even recognize. She didn't flinch. This is just a blip in the timeline. I love you, and this doesn't change that. Try to understand. I stood there, trying to absorb the surreal scene playing out in front of me. Eventually, I asked, forcing my voice to remain even, so you're really going through with this? Yes, she said without hesitation. But it doesn't have to change anything between us. I managed a hollow smile. All right. If that's how it is, then maybe I'll make some plans of my own this weekend. But I want one thing from you, keep your phone on, in case there's an emergency. She looked at me, pausing as if to weigh what I was really asking. After a long silence, she nodded. Okay. But only if you promise not to call unless it's truly urgent. And absolutely no tracking me. Deal, I replied tightly. Still, there's time to change your mind. She turned back to the mirror, resuming her makeup routine without a word, her silence making it clear the conversation had ended. Feeling shaken, I left the room and walked to my home office. The walls felt closer than usual, the air heavier. I sat at my desk, pulled out my phone, and stared at my contact list, my thumb hovering. Eventually, I stopped on a name I hadn't thought about, let alone called, in years. I tapped the screen to place the call. When the line connected, I said, "Hi, this is Michael Miller." The voice that responded was instantly familiar, filled with warmth and surprise. Michael? Oh wow, it's been such a long time. It was Anna Pierce, once my assistant and someone I'd once considered more than just a colleague. How have you been, Anna? I asked. Hearing her voice pulled me back to another time in my life, one I hadn't revisited in years. Back then, I was still climbing the ladder as a senior associate, not yet a partner. Anna had been instrumental in those years, organized, brilliant, and fiercely loyal. Her husband, Matt, had been rising quickly in the corporate world too, and together they were raising a young son, Luke. Then tragedy struck. Matt died in a car crash 5 years ago. I'd been there for her during the worst of it, helping her navigate the legal aftermath and securing a settlement that gave her financial stability. Our bond deepened in that season of grief, so much so that we both knew we were dangerously close to crossing a line. But out of respect for my marriage, we parted ways before anything could happen. Now, her voice stirred all the echoes of that connection. I'm not doing so well, I admitted after a moment's hesitation. Samantha just told me she's spending the weekend with another man. She says it's a one-time thing. I don't even know what to make of it. Silence followed on her end, heavy with disbelief, before she responded with quiet compassion. Michael. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. I always thought the two of you were rock solid. So did I said bitterly, and then I explained everything, the sudden announcement, the overnight bag, her insistence that it wouldn't change anything. She listened intently, and her reply caught me off guard. Well, Luke's staying with his grandparents this weekend. If you need someone to talk to, you're more than welcome to stop by. I was planning a quiet weekend anyway, and honestly, I'd appreciate the company. Her offer felt like a rope thrown to someone barely treading water. We agreed I'd pick her up in about an hour. As I got ready to leave, I felt a strange mix of nervous energy and comfort. The idea of reconnecting with Anna gave me something to hold on to, something steady when everything else felt like it was unraveling. When I pulled up to her place, she greeted me with the same warmth I remembered, her smile easing the tightness in my chest. We ended up going to the Italian restaurant I had originally planned to take Samantha to, bittersweet, but fitting. Dinner unfolded effortlessly. Conversation flowed as though no time had passed at all. By the end of the night, it felt as though we had picked up a thread that had only been paused, not broken. The weekend was simple, genuine. It didn't erase the pain I carried, but it reminded me of who I was before all this confusion began. As I drove back home, a sense of calm settled over me, mixed with apprehension. I knew there was no avoiding what came next. Facing Samantha was inevitable. But for the first time in days, I felt steady enough to do it. When I pulled into the driveway and saw her car parked in the garage, I knew she was already home. Taking a deep breath, I walked inside. She appeared from the living room, wheeling her overnight bag behind her. She looked momentarily caught off guard, but quickly covered it with a breezy tone. "Hey, sweetheart," she said. "I knew you'd be waiting for me. See? I told you, I'm still your wife. You're incredible for giving me this space. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Maybe I'll slip into something special later and we can have our own little evening before Kate comes back." Her casual tone, like she'd just returned from a spa retreat, made something cold settle in my chest. But I kept my expression even. Calmly, I walked to the side table, where I'd discreetly left my phone recording our interaction, something I hadn't wanted to do, but felt was necessary. "Samantha," I said, voice low but firm. "Don't treat me like a fool. I know exactly what this weekend was about. Don't insult my intelligence." The expression on her face shifted, somewhere between guilt and surprise. She avoided my eyes, hesitating before answering. "Michael. I told you it was only for the weekend. It was meant to help us. I just thought you'd understand." "Understand?" I stepped toward her, my tone sharper now. "You needed to sleep with someone else to feel better about yourself? And you want me to believe it happened just once?" Her cheeks turned crimson, her eyes flickering with discomfort and defiance. "Look," she said more quietly, "he's married too. He has kids. He's not leaving his wife. It was just an experience. Something I needed. It doesn't change how I feel about you." "It changes everything for me," I replied coolly. "You threw away everything we built together, our family, our trust, for something you now claim was meaningless?" She shook her head, the edge of irritation entering her voice. "You're being overly dramatic." Her words landed like a slap. In that moment, I saw the truth more clearly than ever. This wasn't just a lapse in judgment. It wasn't about a weekend. It was a crack in the foundation we'd built, and there was no repairing it now. "He made me feel seen, Michael," she said, her voice tightening. "Like I mattered. Like I was desirable again. You can't possibly understand what it's like to be invisible." "Oh, is that how it is?" I asked, voice steady but laced with steel. "So what now? Do we pretend none of this happened? Just wait until you feel unseen again and go running back to him, or someone else?" Her jaw clenched, and her voice wavered. "I told you, I'm not going back to him. I just needed one moment. One weekend. To feel like I wasn't fading into the background. Like I was worth something." I stood there, absorbing her words, feeling the last threads of what we once were begin to fall away. I slowly shook my head, the full weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest like a collapsing wall. "A shadow?" I repeated, my voice low with disbelief. "Samantha, you've never been invisible to me. But when you left this house to be with someone else, you made me feel like I didn't exist." Her gaze dropped to the floor. The words hit their mark. For the first time, her composure cracked, and regret flickered in her expression. "I'm sorry, Michael," she whispered. "I thought I could have that weekend, come home and we'd just pick up where we left off." A bitter chuckle slipped from me. "Pick up where we left off?" I echoed. there's no going back. That version of us is gone. And while you were away, I reconnected with someone who's always seen me. Anna. Her face turned pale. Hurt and disbelief collided in her eyes. You didn't. I did, I said firmly, not with cruelty, but with truth. I spent the weekend with Anna. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. The words hung in the space between us, unfiltered and heavy. Anna always respected my marriage, I continued. Even when she lost her husband, she never crossed a line. She knew what my vows meant to me. But the moment you left, you gave me a reason to reach out. Samantha sank onto the nearest chair, her hands trembling as they clasped in her lap. I never imagined this would happen, she muttered, as if the realization had just hit her. I didn't think it through. No, I cut in. You didn't think at all. If you had, you'd have seen how deeply this would cut. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Eventually, her voice emerged, fragile and uncertain. What do we do now? I drew in a slow breath, feeling the decision settle in my bones. I'm filing for divorce, I said with quiet finality. This marriage can't recover from what's been done. Her head jerked up. Her eyes were wide, pleading. Michael, please. I know I hurt you. I made a terrible mistake. But can't we at least try counseling, try something? I was just lost. It's too late, I replied, not harshly, but with clarity. You made your decision the moment you walked out that door. And I've made mine. Anna and I are reconnecting, and I'm not walking away from what I feel for her. She broke down then, shoulders shaking as soft sobs escaped her. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to hold the pieces of her world together. I watched for a moment before speaking again, my voice gentler. I'll be fair, I said. You can keep the house. I'll make sure you're financially secure. But I can't stay here. She nodded slightly, defeated, unable to meet my eyes. I reached for my phone and stopped the recording, my record of this final, necessary conversation. The decision tore at me, but it felt right. There was no more pretending. That night, I called Emily at school and gently explained what had happened. She was crushed but agreed not to contact her mother or sister until I had a chance to speak to them both. When Kate returned from her camping trip, I sat her down as well. She was shaken but mature beyond her years, asking questions carefully, listening intently. She sensed this wasn't just a temporary storm. The weeks that followed brought constant change. I moved into the guest room for a time, giving Kate room to adjust. But eventually, I left and settled into a modest apartment not far from the house. My focus remained on being there for my daughters and rebuilding something meaningful with Anna. As promised, I worked out a fair settlement with Samantha. I made sure she was financially stable, and to her credit, she accepted everything without fighting it. In the beginning, she told people we had simply grown apart. But as time passed, she began to admit the truth, and she took responsibility for her actions. Months passed. Anna and I built something new, rooted in honesty and experience. Surrounded by our closest friends and family, we eventually held a small, heartfelt wedding. Emily and Kate stood beside us, offering their full support and love. That day, standing beside Anna, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, peace. A quiet, steady joy that came from knowing I was exactly where I belonged. With time, Anna helped me open my heart to fatherhood again. After a successful vasectomy reversal, we welcomed 2 beautiful children into our family. Our son, Himati, was named in honor of Anna's late husband, while our daughter, Maddie, carried the name of my mother. Watching them grow brought a happiness I hadn't thought possible. Even Luke, Anna's first son, and I developed a deep, meaningful bond. I became the father figure he'd longed for, and in return, he became another son in my heart. Years later, on a warm summer afternoon, the past made a quiet return. It was Emily's wedding day, an occasion filled with laughter, tears, and love. During the reception, Samantha approached me, her new husband Nicholas by her side. He seemed kind, his presence calm and genuine. When we found a brief moment alone, she turned to me, eyes softer than I remembered. "I'm sorry for everything, Michael," she said gently. "I truly am. I'm happy for you. But I'll always wonder what might have been." I held her gaze. My voice was steady and honest. "I forgive you, Samantha. We both ended up where we were meant to be. I hope you and Nicholas have a beautiful life together." I leaned forward and kissed her forehead, something tender and final. Then I turned back to Anna and reached for her hand. As we stepped onto the dance floor, her smile met mine, glowing with warmth and love. We moved together, swaying gently to the music. In that moment, I felt nothing but gratitude for the pain we'd survived, the love we'd rebuilt, and the second chance at happiness we never expected but deeply deserved.